This lock once carried boats from the ferocious River Thames up into Gloucester docks and was a main route through for many canals. So I am walking away from Gloucester docks in the Gloucester and Sharpness Canal. I've got the River Severn just to the left of me here. This is kind of one of the offshoots of the Severn, it's not the main river. So we're just walking down now and we're trying to find one of the locks. There used to be a couple of locks that closed down, which join this and the other end of this bit of kind of offshoot river onto the end of the canal and onto Gloucester docks, which would allow access for the Hereford and Gloucester Canal to join into the main network. So the first thing we're going to see today is this. This is a Bradway Bridge. It used to carry the old dock railway, or the dock branch line, and opened in 1854. It's obviously now closed and very rotten. If you just look around this corner here, as I said, you've got the River Severn just to our left here. And up ahead, you have a weir. And the weir was built in 1871 and stopped navigation up the River Severn. Now, they needed a solution to that. So they built this lock. And this lock is on a public footpath as part of a nature trail. And is not as deep as it once was. We're a few feet above the river level here. And it's probably quite swollen as well. The house up there is the old lockkeeper's house, but that is now in private ownership. But this lock will hopefully be restored again. The walls started to go inwards, so they buried it and put wood in and stuff like that years ago. But the hope is by the Hereford and Gloucester Canal Trust that when the lock from over is built and boats can once again access the stretcher canal they've got open there already, then this will be needed to be able to access the Gloucester and Sharpness and the docks. The name of the lock is Clampy Lock, and I may have pronounced that wrong, but it was closed in 1924 when the walls started going in, and then any ships wanting to come up to this section of the river used to only be able to sort of come up on really high tides. So you've got the, you can see where the gates would have been held in here. These would have been pretty big gates on here. Like I said, it would have been quite a lot deeper here originally. So the lock itself actually still has rights of passage, so it should be quite easy for the restoration to happen. They don't need any legal loopholes to sort of get that lock open. Obviously it's just going to be a case of sort of restoring, and I guess they've got to purchase the land and stuff as well, but that will allow access into here and then further up from here to the docks. So we're going to take a little walk over today and have a look what's going on there. It's quite an interesting little project. The whole canal is actually. It's a pretty good job I turned around because there's my footpath. So the lock must be just there. You've got the bushes over there, so I think it's just behind there. So yeah, as you can see, I'd have needed more than wellies to get through here. So we are on, and just nestled inside here is another railway bridge. So we're following the line of the railway up. You can see the other side of it there. And you can see the brickwork down through that gap there. So it looks like another railway bridge here. It's in line with the other one. So this would have been part of the old dock railway as well. There's no signage up for it, and I haven't found anything online, but it's in line, and it's kind of just up ahead from here. We've got the railway line, goes across the river and goes down then across the other side and follows the river down. And this feels like an old sort of yard or something in the middle of the tracks. It's very barren, and you look around, there's nothing growing here. So it'd be all old rubble and everything sort of dumped into here over the years. That's definitely got a feel of railway up across there, not on that wall there. And as if by magic, here we go, some rails. So yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm correct in that. That was, you can see where this is lining up now to run across to join into as that curves around. So we're up by the main River Severn now, and the first thing we see is the Horseshoe rail bridge, which is joining onto the bits I've just spoken about. The river is running incredibly fast at the moment and is very, very high, so I'm not going to go near it. But we walk under here, and then we get to see something quite exciting and quite beautiful. So this is probably, other than the tunnel, I'd say this is the lowest point of a railway crossing on the Severn. There's no, I don't think there's any more bridges further down for the railway. So this is Telford's Bridge, kind of, it's over bridge, but what known as Telford's Bridge. It was built by Thomas Telford, and until the Severn crossing was built, it was the furthest south you could go across the River Severn by car. Telford originally proposed to put an iron bridge across here, like so many of his other bridges and aqueducts, especially ones over the Severn that he'd done. But the city council basically said no, they wanted something more grand to be the gateway to the city. So this was based on a French design instead. Look at it, it's beautiful. It was closed in 1974 when the road just here was built. It's about 150 foot wide. The arch sank by about 2 inches when it was built originally, when the timber was removed. They put the timber in and then built like a timber arch in, and then built the bridge over the top of it, and then went down about another 8 inches due to the settlement of the foundations. It's now pedestrian only, and I'll go up across the top in a minute. I just want to walk through the little pathway through the side here. It's a bit windy through here, I don't know if you can hear me. So Thomas Telford, the canal legend, also built road crossings as well. What a structure it is. They started building it in 1825 and then took 3 years to build. Beautiful. So there's about 150 years between this absolute magnificent bridge and that bridge. We've lost something, haven't we? We really have. I'm sure that's very good at what it needs to do and carries a lot of weight. Probably a lot more weight than that bridge does, but they don't build them like they used to. Still got the pavements on it, look. So yeah, this would have carried the main road across. This has all been changed quite a lot over the years. So where we're going is just over there. And I think that's an old canal building. That's the lock keepers just there. So here we've got the lock keepers. I think that's actually a new build, and this is just obviously this isn't the old lock walls. We'll come to those in a moment. Just a nice canal looking feature along the side of it. So this is where the canal would have dropped into the River Severn, just up ahead of us here. The lock itself would have been pretty massive, and there's a bit of sort of debate about the depth that it would have been. Some people saying it would have only been about 12 foot, but most people, which I think is correct, is saying closer to 30. Now, a 30-foot drop on a lock is huge, but because this is still tidal up here, it's going to be really... You've got to account for low tides, the spring tides, which are the highest ones. So you've got a footpath runs just down through here. I've got to squeeze my bag through there. And the lock would have been here. And you can see there are, where it's been dug out, you've got the brickwork, which we'll go above in a second, just in there. So the lock is in this line here. This is kind of about as high as it gets. It can go, I think, another foot or two up. So it's hard to see the 30-foot difference in here because it's probably only sort of, I don't know, maybe 10 foot here now. But this does drop sort of right down. So here's the old brickwork from the lock here, look. So the current highest lock on the UK canal network is the Chol lock, which is on the Rochdale Canal. It was built in 1996, which replaced 2 locks. And that has a fall of 19 foot, 8.5 inches, which is about 6 metres. So then we're up into the Hereford and Gloucester Canal, which is just up here. So the lock itself had a lot of the facing stones removed when the canal was abandoned in 1881. It was bought by the railway company who built over much of its line. So this site used to be the Over Isolation Hospital, and in 1993 the Health Authority wanted to sell the land, and housing developers obviously got involved with that. So the first clearance work started here in February 1998, and it was later that year that they actually started digging out the canal itself. It had originally been filled in 1903 when the hospital was built, and they had work parties down here, and they had sort of 50 or 60 people down here at a time on these work parties doing all of this, and it kind of coincided with them demolishing the sort of hospital up above. It was reopened on the 29th of September in the year 2000. They've got these little huts along it. There's 2 of them here, I think, which you'll see on the side here, and that's for utilities. So they've got water and electric points and stuff in here. So when this is eventually restored to a working canal, there are sort of points here for anyone mooring. So the hospital has its quite interesting history here as well. So it was built to treat infectious diseases like scarlet fever and stuff. There was an outbreak of a disease in 1895. I think it was smallpox, and that prompted them building the hospital here. It was then used during the First World War to treat patients returning from the front with TB. So it served its purpose during the war as well. It's got quite nice features here on this lock. So let's hope this lock can be restored. I've heard plans to take sort of the lock other places and come further up the river where it's wider, and as you know, it's not running as fast, but this is the traditional place. And I saw an article in one of the magazines I picked up from on the Modern Breck last week that suggested that this was being planned to go ahead. They've got some stuff to sort of get over further up, which we'll walk up to now. This canal does cover quite a lot of countryside, so it is fairly easy to do once they get through certain points. So the first bit we've got here is actually a pumping station. You can see here it runs down into the canal rather than being a spillway, which is what it looks like at first. But this is a deep shaft, it's about 30 foot deep, and the plan is you got the River Leiden just down there, Leiden I think it might be, and they'll be able to pump water up from the river to come into the canal to feed the canal, and then that will run down through this little channel into the canal under this little bridge here. So down below here is a massive floodplain. Let's pop down here and have a look. You can see it's actually flooded at the moment where the river's been so high. And you've got a mill leak here as well, which I think is this one here. So there was a mill here for hundreds of years. We currently use this canal for a variety of things. At the moment I can't film the trips, I've been asked not to, but there's boat trips coming up and down here. They've got disabled people coming along here, and I think they do that every Tuesday. There's still active work parties down here on a Thursday if you want to get involved, which is here to maintain the stretch. We've got an overflow here, a spillway, look, runs down there and lower the level there, look, that one's removable on the end and on the end there. So this drains down into the mill leak, down a little waterfall here, and goes around. So then we go into the Vineyard Hill section of this, which was done later than the first section behind us, and was done in 2011 and 2012, all by volunteers. So the H&G Canal wasn't ever really commercially successful. The first plans for it were made in 1777 when Robert Whitworth was asked to survey the route, and was part of a plan to include the Leinster Canal as well, but they instead went for this via Ledbury. So Joshua Clowes was an engineer who worked on the Chester and Thames and Severn Canal on the Cotswolds, and he resurveyed the route and recommended that it pass through Ledbury. Then in 1792, Hugh Henschel, who was James Brindley's brother-in-law, he was asked to resurvey and recommended the diversion to Newent. They'd found some new coal seams, and that needed the tunnel at Oxenhall. Josiah Clowes died in 1795 and was replaced by Robert Whitworth, and by 1795 the initial section had been opened to Newent. They then opened, over the next 3 years, they got it as far as Ledbury, but they had to stop because the cost was so high, which was quite a prominent feature of this canal. They went to build a second phase. In 1827, Stephen Ballard became the clerk of the company, and in 1838 he proposed a new route for the final section, which was advised against by the engineer James Walker, and in 1839 they raised money by an Act of Parliament to continue. It opened in stages then, and finally reached Hereford on the 22nd of May 1845. So we're kind of at the end of the restored section here. There's a winding hole just here. I think it's about half a mile off the top of my head, this section. Once connected, and the two locks we've discussed on this video are done, it will be connected to the network, albeit through the Severn, which it always was, and quite, they've got to deal with all the tides and stuff there, so it won't be constantly open, that lock. It'll have to be monitored, I think, to stop people from sort of using it illegally. You don't want to take a narrow boat which can only go 4 miles an hour against the tide, because it won't end very well. There's a lot of potential on this canal, and they've got some ambitious plans. So the The railway went over it basically, and where New Ent Station is now, they want to put where the platform is, they want to put the canal running through the middle via an inclined plane to get up to the height. It's quite ambitious, but would probably be one of the coolest parts of any canal on the UK network if it was to go ahead. It's really peaceful down here. I mean, it's a nice day now, the weather's got better as we've been doing this walk, but it'll be a lovely stretch when it's done. So thanks for watching, have a great day.